losing animals is, at least in my experience, like more painful than any person that I've lost in this life. That sounds so terrible. But, like last year I lost one of my greatest dogs of all time to cancer. And so they had just left one of his alfalfa field, and there's this beautiful dog just sitting there that they had left behind. What I love is loading the dogs up either in the Honda, loading them up in my truck, taking them out to the field and running them, taking my horse out, and just being out in nature with my animals like a Disney movie, just frolicking through the hills for real. Sarah's her name, this blue merle Australian Shepherd. She took a liking to me among all the family members, my mom, dad, brother, sister, me. She liked me. She picked me. Even that part is awesome. So I'm like, oh, Jody Bell. And it's your time. You're going to be a mom. I just even love that part of it. Like getting excited and knowing that in 63 days or so, they're going to be here. The new little babies are going to be here. I love that part. It's like nature's Christmas.
Welcome back to Tales of Fluff. I'm AJ.
And I'm Emily. Today's episode takes us behind the scenes of a topic we've briefly touched on with past guests, but this time we're focusing entirely on it.
We're excited to share not only who our guest is, but also the passion, the responsibility, and the care that goes into the work they do with the animals every single day.
With that being said, we're excited to introduce our guests. This episode, we talked with Jamie, the owner of Changala Aussies, located on a dry wheat farm in California's Central Valley.
Jamie's dogs truly live their best lives, joining her on countless adventures, often running alongside her as she rides her horse. Throughout this episode, you'll quickly notice just how deep her love is for her dogs and the puppies she raises.
That's right. Jamie doesn't just own beautiful dogs. She dedicates her life to raising them thoughtfully and intentionally. And that's exactly what we explore today. The behind-the-scenes moments and real experiences that have shaped Changala Aussies into what it is today.
And what makes Jamie's journey especially interesting is that her start is very different from what most people might expect. We started off by asking Jamie how Changala Aussies began and what inspired her to start raising Australian Shepherds.
I have to start by saying, I'm born and raised on a farm here in California, Central Valley. My dad's a fourth generation farmer. And so it really started there. We've always had dogs. We've primarily always had border collies. My grandpa's always had border collies and a herd of sheep. And then his dad had a pack of border collies and was a sheep herder from the Basque Country. So it's just been tradition in our family to always have shepherds herding dogs. And how this all started for me was my dad found an Australian Shepherd on one of his properties. So he's got like several properties kind of like spread out like sections, like he'll lease a field, kind of in various areas here in the valley. It's not all just one chunk of land together. And on one of those fields, he sees this Australian Shepherd, this blue merle Australian Shepherd. And she was left behind by some range. We have these large bands of rangeland sheep here in the Central Valley where they'll come through and graze down land. And so they had just left one of his alfalfa field, and there's this beautiful dog just sitting there that they had left behind. And so he brought her home, and that is really where it all started. I mean, the relationship and connection that I had with that dog was really life-changing. I always loved dogs, but I'm really a horse girl. And so that was my focus, were my horses. And Sarah's her name, this blue merle Australian Shepherd, she took a liking to me among all the family members, my mom, dad, brother, sister, me. She liked me. She picked me, which I didn't even know why that happened. I think maybe because I was going and riding the horse every day, and she was like, I like that. I want to go follow you on your horse. And that prompted one of the most intense connections that I've ever experienced with any animal. And so from then on, I took a huge fascination to the breed. There was a moment where I'm on AKC's website looking at the breed standard and trying to see like where did they like originate from? And you'll get a lot of like feedback on where people will say the breed originated from, and a lot of it did happen here in the United States, but on AKC's website it said that they originated in the Basque Country, which was mind-blowing for me because I'm like, Basque culture is quite small, maybe a bit obscure, not everybody knows about it. And so to me it was just like full circle, like the universe just like, here's a gift for you, like this cool special moment. So anyway, yeah, I could go on, but that's really how it all started, was Sarah, my first standard Australian Shepherd.
I think that start really shows how it was meant to be. The fact that this all started with a dog who was simply left behind.
Yeah, it's wild how close that story came to never happening at all. I mean, the chances of her dad finding a blue merle Australian shepherd almost sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It really does. And the way she described the connection between her and that dog, it wasn't planned. The dog picked her.
Especially since dogs weren't even her main focus at that time. That connection really was meant to be.
And she didn't just have that connection and jump straight into raising puppies. She took the time to learn about the roots of the breed, which really shows intention and care.
Absolutely. And working with dogs and raising puppies has to be both rewarding and fun. So we wanted to know what Jamie loves most about what she does.
Gosh, you guys, too many things. I was thinking about this though, and I'm like, one of the things that I love most, and yes, I'm so fortunate to have been raised in this environment as I look out and I'm like this gorgeous dry land wheat field that my grandfather started and my dad has since taken over. It's just been in my blood. Like from a kid, I know nothing more than farm life. And what I love most about it is that I have to take these animals out every day. Like the dogs have to have some enrichment in their life every day. At least that's my like, I have it in me to like, I feel guilt if I don't do something with the animals. And fortunately, I have access to this beautiful, 1,500-acre dryland wheat farm that my family owns. So what I love is loading the dogs up either in the Honda, loading them up in my truck, taking them out to the field and running them, taking my horse out, and just being out in nature with my animals like a Disney movie, just frolicking through the hills for real. There's so many aspects to it, but for me, that's really like what satisfies my soul the most is, and what I love the most about it. And so it would be that the time spent with my animals in nature and with a breed of dog that wants to be out in the rangeland, out on the farm, following me on my horse, just happy to do anything I'm doing outside.
That is awesome. Yeah, Jamie, I mean, to be honest, I think you're living many people's dreams, just being out there out in the country, a bunch of land, and just your animals and your pets. That is awesome.
Thank you guys. I really don't take it for granted. I'm so lucky that I was born into this life. It's not all that it's cracked out to be, for sure. It's a ton of hard work, and like this is straying from the dogs a bit, but like, as a kid, I wasn't always happy about it because I had a lot of responsibility and did a lot of things that my friends didn't do. Like coming home from school, tons of chores before I'd go to school, tons of chores and things that nobody else would ever be asked to do as a child, like the work that I did anyway, but which instilled this lifestyle that I have now of being really independent and wanting to stay on the farm and do the tough work. But with that, for sure, comes this really beautiful, like, give back from it, which is live it life on the farm.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I remember reading something that the happiest people, their jobs are farmers. Like no one else, not the lawyers, not the people that work in a cubicle. It's the farmers. Because at the end of the day, you feel satisfied from all the hard work that you did.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The enrichment these dogs get and the adventures they go on sound amazing. especially for this breed. They really are living their best lives.
Yeah, and the fact that she feels guilty if her dogs don't go out every day, that really says a lot.
It definitely shows the care she has for them. And the way she brings her horse along on these adventures too is just incredible.
For real. Just her, the dogs, and her horse running through open fields. How incredible must that be? And Jamie, if you're listening to this, you need to go on TikTok Live and stream that because people would absolutely love that. So, next, we wanted to know if there's a moment during puppy raising that never gets old for her.
You guys, I have to say that the whole process is awesome. Like, okay, so from a breeder standpoint, at least me, because this is something that I really am passionate about and love, and specifically this breed of dog. The future of my breed is so important to me, and I'm so fortunate that I have acquired the genetics and the quality of dogs that I have. So from start to finish, the whole process is awesome for me. Like, a female coming into season is like excitement, which is kind of seems weird to say, but I'm like, even that part is awesome. So I'm like, oh, Jody Bell, and it's your time. You're gonna be a mom, like I just even love that part of it, like getting excited and knowing that in 63 days or so, they're gonna be here. The new little babies are gonna be here. I love that part. It's like nature's Christmas. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, we do our very best as ethical breeders to ensure that we've made a good cross. We've tried to eliminate as many issues as possible and aim for as many good outcomes as possible. But there are 4 different colors in this breed, at least the genetics that I have. I don't have any bi dogs. I have blue merle, red merle, black tri, red tri. So you have those 4 colors and the 2 genders. So it's like, what are we getting? Like I love that part. It's so exciting. Like to see what's coming and what you get and just hitting all those milestones when those puppies are on the ground is awesome. I will say that like 3 weeks is starting to get to be a cool time, but like really 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of a puppy's life, like during that stage of their development is such a great time too. That is a fun time to be around puppies is when they're 5, 6, 7 weeks old.
You can hear how excited she gets about every part of it, even the parts most people wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, it's not just the puppy showing up. She genuinely loves the process from start to finish.
It really makes sense when she talks about the surprise elements, the different colors, personalities, and even who they're going to be. I can see why that anticipation never gets old for her.
Especially once they hit that 4 to 7 week stage. You can tell that's the really fun part for her when they start becoming little individuals.
That process has to be adorable, watching those pups grow into amazing dogs. Which brings us to our next question. What advice would she give to a first time Australian Shepherd owner before bringing their puppy home?
I guess I'm going to answer this based on me as a breeder. I don't have just like one or even, a few things that give people as advice. What my process is, I interview people over the phone. So I'll kind of go over that a little bit. Like what I'm looking for in people is I hate to say your yard. I'm not necessarily expecting people have a massive yard. And if you do live in an apartment and you don't have a yard, then there's some boxes that we have to check there for sure to make sure that this is going to be a good fit. So your home environment, your lifestyle, your work schedule, and of course, everybody has to work. That's totally fine. But these are things that I'm curious to know about, to make sure that this is going to work for the person and for the dog. If you have current dogs, I have a lot of questions for people about their current pack situation, or if they just have one dog. I'm really trying to focus first and foremost on like training, or do you have the skills to train a dog? And even if people have never had a dog before, that's fine. But it's like, listen, these are the things that you need to focus on to make sure that you're going to raise this puppy right. The first 6 months of a dog's life are going to have a big impact on what their life is like, what their behavior is like for the rest of their life. So I want to make sure people are aware and can hit the ground running when a puppy comes home, that they're going to house train, crate train, leash train. And I mean, you have to have some skills to do this. Like, I want to make sure that people have the right skills to leash train a puppy, to teach their dogs to recall. This is really, really important. So for me, and especially with this breed, okay, I know that there's like 200 some dog breeds, everybody's different. With an Australian Shepherd, it's a quality of life thing that they be able to have access to running off leash in some form or fashion whenever it's the right time and place. I know that even folks that live in town, it's like you can find the right location and situation where it's okay to let your dog off leash in that time and place. But you have to teach this dog to recall. It's a life or death matter. I know some people have had their dogs on a leash their whole lives. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I would really like to see different for the dogs that leave my kennel. I say it's a kennel. It's really a farm. These really are dogs that are born and raised on a farm. Their parents, their aunts, their cousins, their siblings that stay on the farm with me, like they are running free. So I know the potential for these dogs to be great listeners. They're so loyal. So this is something that I really want people to take seriously. Excellent conduct on the leash, teaching your dog to recall. And then there's the medical stuff too. So this is why it's like this question, there's a lot for me because I want to make sure people realize how much goes into owning any dog, really, but especially one of the world's most intelligent, athletic cow dogs. You know, this animal's bred for a specific purpose. So, yeah, environment, training, and then medical stuff. I go over big time with people to make sure that they're aware of what's appropriate breed specific for their dog. And then just in general, things that I've learned over the years that I try to help people with when it comes to navigating the veterinary world too.
You could tell she puts so much thought into where her dogs end up. It's not just, do you want a puppy?
Yeah, it goes way deeper than that. She's thinking about the dog's whole life, not just the first few weeks.
The way she talked about those first 6 months really stood out, and how important that time period is for a dog.
And the recall part, calling it life or death, that's not something people usually think about until it's too late.
Especially knowing these dogs are raised running free, she knows what they're capable of.
Exactly. It really shows how serious she takes that responsibility, not just as a breeder, but as someone who truly cares about quality of life.
Absolutely. Now, when most people think about puppy raising, they picture the cute moments and playtime. But there's so much more to it than that. So we asked Jamie what she wishes more people understood about the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Gosh, you guys. You know, some of it's hard and sad, and you don't really want anybody to see that. You don't even want to remember that certain things happen. You know, losing animals is, and at least in my experience, like more painful than any person that I've lost in this life. But that sounds so terrible. But, you know, like last year, I lost one of my greatest dogs of all time to cancer. And, you know, and I tried to be as transparent about that whole process as possible for people, being that he was one of my best stud dogs. I wanted everybody to know, like, this is why it happened. It's nothing that was like a congenital thing, it was an environmental thing. And also just trying to help people, like, if they're experiencing it, like, this is how we're handling it. That's a tough part of it, you know, is any of that, any like sick dogs that pass away. That whole part of it is horrible. And listen, that happens when puppies are born as well. It's not very common, but when it happens, it's just gut wrenching. Like, it's like in those moments, you know, when it's midnight and you're whelping a litter out, and one of them just wasn't alive when it came out for whatever reason. You're doing your best to like try to revive it or whatever, and it's like that just is the way it went. You never know why. I mean, sometimes you might have an indication. As a breeder, we know, like, well, it could have, you know, the sac could have broke before it came out and suffocated before it ever came out. I don't even like talking about this, but these are things that happen that even on social media, like, I'm not sharing any of that. I'm not filming that and sharing it with people. And I have to deal with that too, you know, like on my own, like the pain of that. So that's the part of it all that's no fun. I'm sharing all of like the really fun aspects of it. I'm trying to be absolutely transparent about genetic testing on these dogs to let people know, like, we're doing everything in our power to make sure that these dogs are going to be healthy. They're going to live a long time, that they're not going to have chronic health issues. I don't ever want to contribute to something like that. But at the end of the day, this is, really in nature's hands, some of it is. And that's a hard one to swallow when you really don't have control over everything. Like I said, I do my best to try to control as much of it as possible, but you really don't have full control over everything that nature is going to throw at you. And so I feel like this isn't even a fun one to answer because I'm like, it can get kind of sad here sometimes. Again, not common, but when it happens, I mean, say like 90% of the time it goes good. Just that one small percentage where it's kind of rare, maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years you have a loss. It's the worst pain. That's the part of it that hurts the most, that you really just internalize and you don't want to share with people because nobody wants to hear that. Like I wish that I never had to experience that, but I don't know, that's just part of it. That's just farm life.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we haven't lost a dog personally ourselves, but we actually got our first dog when we first got married nearly 8 years ago. So he's getting up in age and we're literally dreading the day that
I
we
know.
lose him.
This is why I raise them, you guys, because losing Sarah, oh my gosh, I could still to this day, it's incredibly emotional for me. I see unfortunately, how short dogs' lives are. And I cannot go a day without the presence of a dog. And then I just so happen to be really passionate about this specific breed of dog. So I don't ever want to live a day without one. So I've kind of created that for myself where I don't have to. I still have to go through it, but at least I have somebody there that I can cuddle and hug and take on a walk, and life goes on.
Definitely. And thanks for sharing that, Jimmy. We know it's probably not that easy to talk about. And you're not the first person that says that them losing their dog would be harder than losing a family member. We posted a while back ago, it was a TikTok, and it went to like 30,000 views, and every single comment was similar. It's like, yeah, I lost my mom, I lost my dad, but it's nothing compared to losing
Wow.
my dog.
Yeah. I'm fortunate that I haven't lost a parent yet, so that's why I say that. But of course, I don't want to even know what that is. But yeah, there's something about animals. Like I have the best connections with animals, and I love people too, but there's just something about connecting with an animal there's just nothing like it. And it's so special. And I've certainly locked it in for myself that I'm always going to have that. I'm always going to have a horse and a dog. And I'm glad I don't have to pick between one or the other because they're both
That is
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's that, at least for me, I feel like I can go to work and I can have like the worst day, or we went to some friend's funeral and we come back home and that dog is just there. Like it's not complaining about eating the same food. It's
No.
not complaining that it has to wear a little sweater. Like it's there, it's ready to cuddle, and it knows when you're sad and it knows when you're happy. And I think that's what it is. It's that connection,
It's unconditional love.
unconditional love.
To be honest, we weren't expecting that answer, but we truly appreciate Jamie sharing it with us. We want to take a moment to thank her again for her honesty and the strength it took to talk about that.
Absolutely. Carrying those quiet, hard moments really shows how much she cares. She continues to put her whole heart into making sure her dogs and puppies have the best life possible.
Couldn't have said it better. After such a heavy topic, we moved on to something lighter and asked if there was a family or puppy placement that really stayed with her.
So there's a lot. I've been raising almost 16 years. I've been doing this. And every year, at least like I had mentioned before, the way my brain works is the most recent, current thing is always kind of like what I'm thinking about the most. And so like last year in the summer, I had a litter of puppies, and one of the people that lives down south, I don't know. Obviously I'm not going to say a person's name or anything, but I'm trying to describe it without giving her away. But she got a dog for me, and she was great when I interviewed her. I was like, yep, this person will definitely work. Put her on my wait list, and we got her hooked up with the dog that she wanted. And I told her, I was like, okay, so these are really high energy, very intelligent, athletic dogs. And they kind of vary. You can have some that are more quiet and like relaxed, or some that are really intense or more, you guys get the point. Across the board, there's variation in disposition and energy level in puppies. And this girl ends up getting one of the most outrageous dispositions in a dog. Not that this dog is just, so it's a red dog for one, and I'm a redheaded person too, so I understand. Red anything is just a little bit extra, a little bit spicy. This puppy was vocal from day one. I mean, she would sound off. It's not that she's like barking or shrilling. She was funny. She would just be vocal as like a 3-week-old, howling and stuff, and just funny, quirky personality. And I told her owner, I was like, listen, this one is really extra. I just have to be clear with you on that. Like, do you want a dog that's a redhead, first of all, and going to be just this really outgoing, intense personality and super vocal? And she's like, that's exactly the dog I want. And I'm like, okay, well, I tried to warn you. And to this day, almost like once a week, I get a text, photo, video of the outrageous things that this dog is doing. So there's been many, you guys, but this is like the most current one, and kind of a unique one where like they're not always like this little red dog is just like she's just gifted. And there was, 5 in that litter, and she's hands down the crazy standout. So yes, I knew I was gonna bring up this one because I'm like, just yesterday I get a video of her howling, and it sounds like she's trying to talk, and I'm like, this dog could. They need to do a reality TV show on this dog anyway. So, yes. In that sense, yes. I could give you a bunch of different like examples of like awesome connections that I've had with people I'm so grateful that I got to meet and that I have their contact and my phone number and that we're just friends also. But this particular one last year, I'm so grateful that this girl ended up with this dog because I don't think anybody else would have been able to handle or love this dog as much as she loves her dog. So, yeah, that's the current standout.
The way she said that puppy needed its own reality TV show was absolutely funny.
Yes, that puppy definitely had a big personality. And I liked how the owner didn't back out, but instead said that was the puppy she wanted.
And the fact that she still gets updates showing the puppy hasn't changed much just makes it even better.
It really is funny how different dogs can be. And no matter what, we still love them.
Exactly. And since we were talking about updates, we wanted to know what goes through Jamie's mind when she hears from families years later.
So you get updates for a lot of different reasons, right? As a breeder, you get updates you don't want to hear that you take personal and you're sorry about, and you want to see things change for sure. I'm like, I'm going to do better. So like how I interview people has changed over the years, from making mistakes, not asking the right questions initially. So sometimes there's those where I'm like, I could have done better. I could have made sure that these people could have handled this dog, or I would have put this dog in a home where they would have lived up to this animal's expectations better. And then I have others where it's so cool. I have a dog in Hong Kong. She takes this dog all over. Like, it's riding a skateboard. It's doing scent work. I have this one guy that he has a home in San Diego and he goes to Montana a lot. He's the coolest guy. Like, we met him at a horse show and he saw John, the dad to his dog. And they're like, I have to have a puppy by this dog. And I'm like, I know, he's one of the best boys. Like, and he was in love with his dog before it was even born, kind of thing. And I'll get an update from him maybe like once every 2 or 3 months. And it's always just like, I'm like proud, I'm happy. It's like emotional, He loves his dog so much, like more than life itself. And it's always so nice. Like, his messages are always so lovely. Jamie, here we are today. And they live on a little farm too. And I'm like, he's sending me a picture and he's like, we rode the quad today and she was with her friend, the cat, and like showing me anyway. And I'm just like, he's always so positive and lovely. And I'm just like, this is like good for the soul. Like, I really love this. So it's on all areas of the spectrum as far as like how I feel when I get a text message from somebody or a phone call from somebody. It's either like, dang it, okay, all right, I see where I messed up here or where we need to do better here. Or it's, wow, this is really awesome. Like, this is, why I'm doing it and what makes it also worthwhile. So, and it's mostly that, I will say. It's mostly that.
Yeah, it almost sounds like the good moments outweigh the bad moments in a sense.
They really do. But even if you have one little thing go wrong, take it so personally and it really weighs on you the most. At least I've always been that way, full of guilt for that. I really need to calm down. But also, that's what makes me better, especially when it comes to something like breeding dogs. like you almost like you can't have any faults. If you have any faults, that's where somebody's going to point the finger and say, this is why you shouldn't be doing it. And it's like, no, no, we really have to look at the big picture here. And we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're at the mercy of nature here on all of this. So, yes, I need to take note, do better, but I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing, you know?
You can tell she really feels every update she gets. The good ones mean a lot, but the tough ones stick with her too.
Yeah, and I really liked how honest she was about learning from mistakes instead of pretending everything is perfect.
And when you think about the positive updates, how proud she must feel knowing she helped create lifelong memories and gave someone a best friend who's always there.
That definitely seems like one of the most rewarding parts. Since Jamie has been raising puppies for many years now, we wanted to take it back to the beginning and asked if she remembers the first puppy she ever raised and how that goodbye felt.
Yeah, I definitely remember the very first. So they have litters, right? I don't remember exactly. This was Trudy and Kevin. And gosh, they had to have had at least 6 or 7 pups. And there's one that she's in my phone. We still talk to this day, and he's doing good. He's got to be at least 14, her dog. And then I'm thinking about, sorry, I'm like going over in my head all those other ones because I've had a couple of them reach out to me too throughout the years. I certainly remember my first litter. It's almost like, I guess, like parents with their first kids. You stress out about all the things, you know. I was like overly stressed about everything, meticulous, constantly focused on those dogs. Like you can't do anything else. All you can do is just focus on these dogs. So yeah, definitely compared to where I am now, being a little more of a seasoned veteran, I'm like, I can relax on a lot of things that used to freak me out for sure. As far as how the goodbye felt, okay, so I'm a farm kid. I've raised a lot of livestock, a little bit of a different like outlook on the world because of how my experience being raised on a farm, having animals, sorry, but processing those animals for ourselves, for our freezer. So I'm not saying that we're comparing, you know, cattle and sheep and pigs to dogs, but I think versus getting super emotional about the goodbye was more so like a sense of pride. Like, yeah, I worked really hard for like 9 weeks, you know, or however long I had them for. I can't remember exactly, but you at least need to make sure they've got 2 sets of vaccines before they go. And in California, they can't go any younger than 8 weeks. And me personally, now mine are like 9, 10 weeks before they go. But by that time, when puppies needed to hit the road, it's like really a sense of pride. And yes, you love them. And I hate to say this, but you love some more than others. Like you resonate with certain individuals more. I've never gotten like super, super emotional. I've certainly like cried a little bit, but it's mostly happy. And can you, I mean, you guys know you have your dogs, like even just driving, knowing you're about to see your puppy and be in the presence of your puppy. These people are so stoked, you know, like they're emotional, they're crying. And I'm just like, yeah, like, and here it is. Like I worked really hard to make sure that this puppy is in the best condition, you know, as we've met all the critical milestones and this puppy is healthy and ready to go home. So it's really more so like if it's emotional, it's just like happiness, you know, like overwhelming happiness that we've made it that far and that this puppy is starting its life with its forever family.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I remember when we got our first puppy. Back then we were living in an apartment. Thankfully, it was first floor, so it was easy for him to go out. But the reason why we bought a home wasn't because it was a good investment, wasn't because we wanted more room. It was because we wanted a yard for our puppy. And ever since then, we even told the realtor, I'm like, we don't really care how many rooms, how many bathrooms, as long as it has a backyard and it's fenced in, I'm like, take our money. So definitely.
I love that. This stuff. See, dogs motivate us in the best ways, you know?
Yeah, and even now, I mean, we're blessed to have, a nice home with a fenced-in yard. But we're like, man, it would be amazing to find a couple of acres and, just have the dogs loose and then maybe get a couple of chickens. So again, it's not for our sake, but it's for the animals.
I think I'll say on that note, I know it's not one of the questions, but I just want to say this being okay. So yes, I'm raised on a farm, but a lot of the places that I go, are like private ranges that I befriended these people. I let them know, like, over the years or in whatever form or fashion, like, I'm somebody that can be trusted. All I want to do is just walk on your property with my dogs. That's all I want to do. You're gonna mind my P's and Q's. My dogs are impeccably trained. They're not gonna bother your livestock or whatever, or whatever the situation is. So, like, I think anybody can, depending on where you're at, you can still make it happen. Like, just kind of look outside the box. You don't necessarily have to buy property. There's so much land. There's so much public land too. It's like we have access to this space, this earth, like, yes, it would be awesome to own your own land, and that those are goals for sure, but we all can get it done at the end of the day. So that's just one thing because I love people saying that to me, like, I wish my dog could run in that space like your dog can. I'm like, where do you live? Well, I live in San Jose. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And I know it's not super, super easy, I guess, initially, but I'm like, it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of research, kind of putting your feelers out there, going boots on the ground kind of thing. But you can do it. You don't have to own that land. You can do it.
I really liked how she talked about that first letter. You can tell how much pressure she put on herself back then to become better and better.
Yeah, classic first-time energy. Overthinking everything, watching every little detail, but that's also how she learned and grew.
And the goodbye part surprised me. It wasn't sadness so much as pride.
And that makes sense. She knew she'd done everything right and was sending those puppies off ready for life.
I also liked how she talked about families getting emotional when they pick up their puppy, while she's standing there thinking, yeah, this is the moment. To really think about that and to know you had a hand in changing someone's life for the better, giving them a companion and a lifetime of memories, what a special thing that is. And what a truly rewarding feeling that must be.
It really shows how much care goes into those 9 weeks and how that work carries forward into someone else's life. With that being said, we moved on to our next question, which is a powerful one to anyone who owns a dog. We asked Jamie, when someone asks her what it means to own a dog, how does she explain it from her own experience?
So when you say own, right? Like, and of course we do. We own our dogs, and technically, I guess according to the law, they're property. But I'm like, I would never say like that I'm their owner. I guess I don't want to like. It's like a spiritual thing, and I don't want to get all crazy and woo woo here right now. But I'm like, they are the connection that I have with them is in some cases like a lot better than most people that I know. It sounds terrible. I'm like, they're my friends. They're like my responsibility. Like, I don't want to say children, but I guess similar to that. Like, they are my responsibility in all the ways, but also what they give me. It's like, I wouldn't even bother with like the expense of all the things, their veterinary care, feeding them, providing them their environment, and then, the involvement that they need on a daily basis for their enrichment and for them to be well behaved and all the involvement that it takes to get to that level. It's like, I'm doing all of this because what I'm getting out of it is profound. And I'm going to be honest, on a spiritual level. So it's tough to put into words. Probably not a direction that you guys might have thought or anybody would think. It is, I guess, the essence of my life is to have a dog. And again, I go on about horses as well. So the horses you can't have in your house, and I can't put a horse in my truck, like a dog for me, like, goes everywhere. If I can take a dog with me somewhere, it's going with me. So security, not that I need like an emotional support pet, but it's just like, I don't know. You just feel like your whole, like I feel like my whole self. This is sorry, this got a little kind of corny.
Oh, you're good.
Anyway, really indescribable. The best feeling ever to have a dog and for a dog to love you back and for you to have almost that like telepathic connection with that animal that's just like you can't even explain it. I don't even know if they know, but we're just like here in this moment, we're like, we're connecting, like we're vibing right now, you and me and this critter, like so anyway.
Yeah, and we understand it because we also have dogs. But for some people that don't have dogs, like they don't understand. Like we'll go out with friends and it's like 8 o'clock and we're like, all right, guys, we gotta go let the dogs out. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't understand because you live in your parents' basement. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
So I've met a lot of people doing this. And some of the stories that I've heard are folks that, are like in their 50s and they finally experienced a dog, like owning a dog. And this is across the board. When you hear stories like this, they're like, I don't know what I was doing with my whole life. Like, I could have had a dog this whole time. They're like, my whole world and view of animals has changed, like, now that I've had this dog. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're just lucky that, like, it was like from the jump, we just always had critters. So yeah, I think we as human beings, we just all have that in us to connect with an animal, whether it's a reptile or whatever. It's like we are made to have these types of connections on a spiritual level. Like, I know I keep going there, but I'm like, maybe this will be a fun one for you guys too. There's this book and it's called Dogs That Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home. And oh gosh, like, I mean, it's based on legit science, how dogs have like a telepathic connection with their people. Anyway, I don't mean to take it on that direction, like a woo-woo direction, but I'm like, there's some pretty cool stuff, about having an animal. It's really hard to explain.
I get what she was saying. It's not really about ownership. It's more like they become a part of you.
exactly. It's not something you can easily explain. You just feel it. And once you've had that kind of connection, you can't imagine life without it. They're just there for everything, no questions asked.
And no judgment, just happy to be with their person. That's a really special connection to have. So to wrap things up, we asked Jamie what advice she would give to someone who feels inspired by what she's built.
This one would be, you have to have a mentor. So obviously you can't really go to school for something like this. I mean, we live in the day and age now with the internet that you can get a lot of information, but there is nothing like having somebody who has the real experience. And I mean, somebody that's been doing it a long time, that they're exceptional in their field at that thing. So if we're talking breeding dogs, they need to be exceptional. They need to be high caliber, of very high morals. For example, the mentor that I first started with, so I've known her since I think it was like 12 years old. I was showing in 4-H, like with her daughter. And so they're well known in the community. I'd known her for a long time. Really great person that wants to help people, especially when it comes to something like this, because she's really passionate about it. So that's a must. But of course, like, I advise people, they've got to be worth taking advice from, right? So I have another breeder friend and we had went over this. I told him that I was going to be on this podcast and we looked at this question. She's like, hands down, you need a mentor. And I was like, I know. You have to have a mentor. Like, sometimes it'll be like literally 11 o'clock at night and I have to call her, and what an amazing person to answer her phone, and like legitimately help me in that moment. I she's like, you need to come up right now and get whatever you need. Just come up here to my house and I got it for you. Like, what. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this person's high caliber, like, knows what you need before you need it, kind of thing. Like, she is set up and I've learned so much from her. It's like, you have to have all of these things in place before you're going to just have puppies come. Of course, but it's like things you might not have thought of. Now we know, and we're going to make sure that we've got like my little kit ready and locked and loaded for anything. Hope we don't need to use it, but it's there if we need to, kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot more to say about that, but I think a good starting place, you guys, is to have a mentor.
That advice made a lot of sense. You don't really figure something like this out on your own. Having someone with experience makes a huge difference, especially during the hard moments.
Absolutely. A huge thank you to Jamie for joining us on this episode of Tales of Fluff, and for sharing the incredible work she does with animals. If you'd like to learn more or see her beautiful dogs, we'll link her information in the description below.
And thank you for watching, commenting, liking, or subscribing. All of that support helps us to continue sharing stories from people who dedicate their lives to animals. But today, we're not asking for any of that. Just one thing. If you have a dog in your life, go take them on an adventure for us.
Until next time, remember, adventures mean the world to our dogs, and they become core memories for us.